Imagine this. It's late in the evening, the house is quiet, and you finally found a moment to relax after a long day. Maybe you're sitting on the couch, watching the news or scrolling through your phone when you feel that familiar craving creeping in. Something small, something comforting before bed. Maybe a little bowl of cereal, a slice of toast, a few crackers with cheese, or even a piece of fruit. It feels harmless, doesn't it? After all, how could something so simple, so routine, be dangerous, especially at night? But what if I told you that for people over 50, the body doesn't process these nighttime snacks the way it once did? What if something as innocent as what you eat after 8 p.m. could quietly be making your heart work harder, your blood sugar rise higher, and your sleep grow more fragile with each passing night? Most people think that aging is simply about years, about birthdays and gray hair. But inside, the real story is told by what happens after the sun goes down. The body changes with age in subtle but powerful ways. The metabolism slows. Hormones that regulate appetite, digestion, and insulin sensitivity shift. The organs responsible for detoxifying and balancing your system, your liver, kidneys, and pancreas, don't operate on the same 24-hour rhythm they once did. And here's the truth very few people realize. The foods you eat at night are not just digested differently, they're interpreted differently by your aging body. At 25, a late-night sandwich might be nothing. At 55 or 65, that same sandwich could trigger a cascade of physiological responses, inflammation, spikes in blood pressure, even disrupted sleep that prevents your heart from truly resting. You see, nighttime is supposed to be a time of restoration. When you sleep, your heart rate drops, your blood pressure stabilizes, your body repairs tissue, and your brain clears out toxins that build up during the day. But when you eat certain foods before bed, you interrupt this process. Instead of shifting into repair mode, your body stays in alert mode, digesting, processing, managing. It's like asking a tired engine to keep running when it's begging to shut down. And over time, that simple mistake, repeated night after night, can wear your body down in ways you can't see until it's too late. There's a reason why doctors have begun studying the connection between late-night eating and diseases like hypertension, diabetes, and heart failure. The science is clear. The timing of your meals can be just as important as what's on your plate. And after 50, the stakes rise dramatically. The digestive system no longer releases the same amount of stomach acid or digestive enzymes. The pancreas becomes slower to produce insulin. Even the liver, your main detox organ, works more efficiently earlier in the day than at night. So when you eat heavy, sugary, or salty foods close to bedtime, your body simply cannot keep up. The result? Elevated blood sugar that lingers through the night, making it harder for you to fall asleep and even harder for your heart to rest. The heart is a tireless worker. It beats over 100 times a day, delivering oxygen and nutrients to every part of you. But it needs its nighttime rest, not in the sense of stopping, but in the sense of slowing down, repairing its tissue, and resetting its rhythm. When your body is busy digesting a late meal, your heart doesn't get that rest. Instead of slowing down, it continues pumping at a higher rate to send blood to your stomach and intestines. Your blood vessels stay dilated, your blood pressure remains elevated, and your heart rate variability, a key marker of cardiac health, declines. It's no wonder why so many people wake up in the middle of the night with racing hearts, indigestion, or restless sleep. It's not stress. It's not always anxiety. Sometimes it's dinner. Sometimes it's the food you thought was harmless. For example, many people believe that a glass of warm milk or a bowl of cereal before bed helps them sleep. The truth? For someone over 50, that milk contains lactose, a sugar that many older adults can no longer digest efficiently. And that cereal often hides refined carbohydrates that spike blood sugar quickly. Within an hour, insulin surges to bring that sugar back down. And what follows is a crash. One that can wake you up, trigger night sweats, or leave you feeling tired in the morning despite a full night in bed. The same goes for a small serving of fruit, especially high-sugar fruits like grapes or bananas. Yes, they're natural, yes, they're rich in nutrients. But eaten at night, they flood the bloodstream with fructose, forcing your liver to work overtime when it should be resting. That extra workload can affect not only your sleep, but also your liver's ability to regulate cholesterol and detoxify your blood. Over time, these small nightly habits accumulate. You might not feel it today, but your body does. Your arteries sense it, your blood sugar reflects it, your heart remembers it. And eventually your energy, your clarity, and your mood begin to change in ways that seem mysterious, until you realize they all trace back to a simple mistake: eating the wrong things at the wrong time. For many over 50, nighttime hunger is real, and it's not just psychological. As we age, our production of leptin, the hormone that tells us we're full, decreases, while ghrelin, the hormone that triggers hunger, can stay elevated longer. Combine that with stress, medications, or a long gap between lunch and dinner, and it's no surprise that the kitchen calls our name after dark. But what we reach for during those moments matters more than most people know. High fat, high salt, or high sugar foods at night don't just add calories, they alter how your entire cardiovascular system behaves while you sleep. A study from the American Heart Association found that people who consumed more than 30% of their daily calories after 6 p.m. had significantly higher risks of hypertension and poor heart function. The reason is simple. Late-night meals disrupt your body's circadian rhythm. Your metabolism follows a natural daily cycle. It's most active during daylight hours and slows dramatically after sunset. When you eat late, you're sending conflicting signals to your body. You're essentially telling it, stay awake, stay alert, stay digesting. And that confusion doesn't just affect your sleep. It affects every system that depends on rest to function well. The liver continues to release glucose, the pancreas continues to pump insulin, and the adrenal glands, which should be quiet, may start producing cortisol, the stress hormone. That's why so many people wake up tired even after 8 hours of sleep. Their bodies never truly shut down. Inside them, the machinery kept running, all because of one late snack. And yet there's another layer to this, one that makes it even more concerning for those over 50. Aging changes how your blood vessels respond to stress, including the stress of digestion. The inner lining of your arteries, known as the endothelium, becomes more sensitive to inflammation and oxidative stress. So when you eat processed foods, fried snacks, or even heavy animal proteins late at night, your blood vessels react with subtle inflammation. You may not feel it, but your arteries do. They stiffen slightly, reducing blood flow and increasing the strain on your heart. Over time, this repeated pattern contributes to higher morning blood pressure, something many doctors notice in their older patients. And while medication can help control it, the real solution often lies in changing what happens after dinner. You see, nighttime should be the body's recovery phase. It's when cells regenerate, the immune system strengthens, and hormones like melatonin and growth hormone peak to repair tissue. But digestion competes with those same processes. Your body must choose between digesting food and healing itself, and digestion always wins. That means less repair, less rejuvenation, less vitality. It's one of the hidden reasons why people over 50 often complain that they feel older than they are. It's not just time, it's timing. Think of your body like a symphony. Every organ, every hormone, every heartbeat has its place in a delicate rhythm. When you eat late, you throw that rhythm off beat. Your liver plays when it should rest, your stomach sings when it should be silent, and your heart keeps the tempo all night long, unable to slow down. It's no wonder the music of your sleep, the rhythm of your body, feels off in the morning. And while most people blame stress or age for their fatigue, the truth often begins on their plate. But the danger goes beyond tiredness. Studies now show that late-night eating is linked to higher rates of insulin resistance, fatty liver, and even cognitive decline. Because when your blood sugar remains elevated during the night, your brain receives less oxygen and more inflammation, damaging the very cells that protect memory and focus. This is especially true for those already dealing with metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, or mild hypertension, conditions that quietly affect millions over 50. And yet, so many continue eating the same way they did at 30, unaware that the rules have changed. There's something almost poetic about how the body works. It gives you warnings long before it fails, little hints that something isn't right. That bloated feeling after a late meal, the restless night after that slice of pizza, The dry mouth in the morning, the pounding heart, the foggy mind, these are not coincidences. They are signals. They are your body whispering, "You'll please give me rest." Because here's the truth, the older you get, the more your body depends on routine. Regular sleep, regular meals, regular movement. When you disrupt that rhythm, especially with food at night, your body feels it deeply. But the good news is that this also means small changes can create powerful results. Simply adjusting the timing of your last meal, or changing what you choose to eat in those evening hours, can restore balance in ways no pill or supplement can. But before we reach that point of relief, before we discuss what helps, we need to fully understand what hurts. Because not all foods are equal in their nighttime impact. Some are far worse than others. And for those over 50, these foods can be silent saboteurs, affecting everything from your blood sugar and blood pressure to your heart rhythm and digestion. So the question becomes, what exactly are the foods that turn your restful night into an invisible battle inside your body? Which of these common evening choices are quietly making your heart, your liver, and your metabolism work harder when they should be resting? The answers may surprise you, because many of them are foods you've been told are healthy. But at night, the same healthy foods can become harmful under the soft glow of the moonlight. And understanding why and how to replace them could change not only how you sleep, but how you age. Let's take a closer look inside your body at night. When the sun goes down and your eyes grow heavy, something remarkable happens. Your metabolism begins to shift gears. The body prepares for rest, repair, and balance. Your brain begins to flush out toxins, your muscles start to heal, and your heart rate slows. Everything moves towards stillness. But when you eat the wrong foods during this fragile transition, especially after 8 p.m., you don't just interrupt sleep. You confuse the entire system that governs your body's internal clock. This internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm, dictates when your cells should be active and when they should rest. It's synchronized with light, temperature, and hormones. But food is one of its most powerful cues. The moment you take a bite, even a small one, your body receives a message. We're still awake. We're still working. This triggers a chain reaction. Insulin is released to handle blood sugar, the digestive organs come back online, and cortisol, your alertness hormone, rises just when it should be fading. And that's where the problem begins. Because when you're over 50, your body no longer handles these signals with youthful efficiency. Insulin sensitivity declines, melatonin production falls, and the digestive process slows. This means that the same snack that your younger self could shrug off can now lead to a prolonged spike in blood sugar, inflammation, and restlessness, all while you sleep. Now let's talk about what that looks like inside your body. Imagine finishing a late dinner, perhaps some pasta, bread, or a glass of wine. As you sit or lie down afterward, your stomach begins to work, but gravity no longer helps move food downward as efficiently. Stomach acid rises more easily, creating that familiar burning sensation of acid reflux, which becomes more common after 50 because the lower esophageal sphincter, the muscle that keeps stomach acid where it belongs, weakens with age. So, instead of digesting peacefully, your body battles upward pressure and discomfort through the night. This isn't just unpleasant, it's dangerous. Chronic reflux is linked to esophageal inflammation, coughing, and even changes in the cells lining your throat, something doctors call Barrett's esophagus. But reflux is only the beginning. Let's take that same meal and follow what happens next. The carbohydrates in the pasta and bread quickly convert to glucose. In younger adults, the pancreas easily releases insulin to handle that sugar. But after 50, insulin sensitivity declines. The cells become more resistant. So the pancreas must work harder, releasing more insulin than before. The result? A longer period of elevated blood sugar. And what does that mean for you at night? It means your body remains in a metabolic tug-of-war, trying to bring your glucose back to balance while you're supposed to be resting. This triggers a spike in adrenaline and cortisol, hormones that raise your heart rate and make your sleep lighter. You may drift in and out of dreams, unaware that your blood sugar is swinging like a pendulum. By morning, you wake up groggy with low energy and often with an intense craving for sugar, the body's desperate attempt to restore equilibrium after a long night of imbalance. Now, imagine that pattern repeated night after night, year after year. What begins as harmless becomes chronic. The pancreas tires out, cells grow even more resistant, and the body starts storing excess sugar as fat, often around the belly. That visceral fat, the deep kind that wraps around your organs, is not just extra weight. It's biologically active. It releases inflammatory chemicals that damage your arteries, thicken your blood, and increase your risk of heart disease. And it all starts with what you thought was just a small meal before bed. There's another player in this nighttime story, the liver. Your liver is one of the most hard-working organs you have, responsible for filtering toxins, producing bile, and balancing hormones. But it also follows the circadian rhythm. During the night, the liver enters its detox and repair mode. That's when it processes the day's byproducts and prepares your body for a fresh start. However, when you eat certain foods before bed, especially those high in sugar, alcohol, or trans fats, you force the liver to abandon its repair duty and switch back to digestion and sugar regulation. Over time, this continuous interference contributes to fatty liver disease, which affects nearly 1 in 3 adults over 50 without them even knowing it. You might not feel pain, but you may notice fatigue, a heavy feeling after meals, or difficulty losing weight. That's your liver struggling to keep up. But the danger doesn't stop there. Alcohol, one of the most common evening indulgences, compounds the problem dramatically. A glass of wine, a beer, or a nightcap may feel relaxing, but it sends the wrong signal to your brain and heart. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep, the stage critical for memory and restoration. It also acts as a vasodilator. It widens blood vessels, which might make you feel warm initially, but leads to unstable blood pressure during the night. For people over 50, this fluctuation can be risky. It forces the heart to adjust repeatedly, which increases strain. And since alcohol also dehydrates you, your blood becomes thicker, making your heart's job even harder. But perhaps the most deceptive nighttime danger comes from something most people think is healthy: fruit. Take a banana, for instance. It's often recommended as a bedtime snack because it contains magnesium and potassium. But what's rarely discussed is its sugar content. One medium banana contains roughly 14 grams of sugar, mostly fructose, which your liver must process. In the evening, when your liver is supposed to be resting, that sugar gets converted to fat more easily. Over time, it can contribute to fatty liver and raise triglyceride levels, which are closely linked to heart disease. The same is true for fruit juices, even natural ones. They hit the bloodstream fast, spike insulin, and confuse the body's nighttime recovery mechanisms. And then there's the quiet danger of dairy. Many people reach for yogurt, milk, or cheese in the evening because they believe it helps with calcium or relaxation. But most don't realize how lactose intolerance increases with age. By 50, nearly 65% of people have reduced lactase enzyme activity, meaning the body can't properly break down milk sugar. The result? Bloating, gas, and even inflammation in the intestinal wall. And inflammation in the gut doesn't stay in the gut. It travels through your bloodstream, affecting your arteries, joints, and even your brain. Recent studies show that low-grade systemic inflammation is one of the most powerful predictors of cardiovascular disease, more than cholesterol alone. So that comforting bowl of cereal with milk before bed, it could be silently feeding inflammation that echoes throughout your entire system. Let's also talk about sodium, hidden in many nighttime foods like soups, snacks, or leftover dinners. As we age, the kidney's ability to filter sodium declines. This means that the salt you consume later in the day stays in your system longer, raising your nighttime blood pressure. High blood pressure during sleep, what doctors call non-dipping hypertension, is particularly dangerous because it gives your heart no rest. Normally, blood pressure should drop by 10–20% during sleep, allowing the heart to recover. But when you eat salty foods late, that dip doesn't happen. The result is constant pressure, which over time stiffens arteries, enlarges the heart, and increases the risk of early morning strokes, the very kind that often strike between 6 and 9 a.m. Even seemingly light snacks like crackers, chips, or pretzels can contribute. These foods are processed and refined, stripped of fiber and high in sodium. They may be small, but they act like a spark in a dry forest, igniting a metabolic storm that lasts long after you've fallen asleep. The body treats them like an emergency, releasing insulin, retaining water, raising blood pressure. It's a subtle chaos that repeats night after night until fatigue, swelling, or lab results finally expose it. Another overlooked culprit is protein, not the lean, balanced kind, but heavy animal protein consumed too late. A large portion of red meat or cheese before bed forces your stomach to work overtime. Digestion of protein requires significant energy and hydrochloric acid, which decline with age. As a result, food stays in your stomach longer, increasing the risk of reflux and interrupting the body's attempt to lower core temperature, something essential for deep sleep. That's why people who eat late often experience restless tossing, sweating, or vivid dreams. Their bodies are burning energy at the wrong time, and if you've ever woken up at 2 or 3 a.m. with a pounding heart, a dry mouth, or anxiety for no reason, this may sound familiar. It's not just emotional stress, it's physiological. Around that time of night, your body transitions between sleep stages. If your blood sugar dips too low, after a late spike earlier in the evening, your adrenal glands release adrenaline to stabilize it. That sudden surge wakes you up, heart racing. It's the same reason so many people over 50 think they have insomnia, when in truth, it's their nighttime eating habits sabotaging their rest. But the risk doesn't end in the heart or stomach. The brain, too, pays the price. When you eat late, insulin remains active longer into the night. Insulin doesn't just regulate blood sugar, it also competes with another process, the clearance of amyloid beta, the protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. During deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system, its cleaning crew, clears away amyloid and other toxins. But if insulin levels are elevated, this process slows dramatically. That means more waste builds up in the brain over time, impairing memory, clarity, and focus. Scientists have begun connecting chronic nighttime eating to increased risk of cognitive decline for exactly this reason. And yet most people have no idea. They blame aging itself for forgetfulness, brain fog, and low energy, when in reality, much of it stems from a body that never gets true rest. It's not that your brain is aging faster than it should, it's that it's never getting to clean itself fully. It's trying to operate in a state of constant metabolic noise. So, what are the most common nighttime mistake foods? They vary from household to household, but patterns emerge. Bread, pasta, rice, sugary cereals, fruit, dairy, alcohol, salty snacks, and processed meats like sausage or ham. Each of these interferes with one or more nighttime processes, whether it's digestion, blood pressure regulation, insulin sensitivity, or detoxification. And for those over 50, the consequences compound. The older the system, the more fragile its rhythm becomes. Think of your body as a finely tuned instrument. In your younger years, you could play out of sync, and it would quickly retune itself. But after 50, that instrument needs precision. Every note matters. Every choice, especially the ones you make at night, affects how it plays the next morning. And if you continue ignoring the rhythm, the sound, your energy, your focus, your vitality begins to dull. The most dangerous part of all this is how subtle it feels. No sharp pain, no dramatic warning, just a slow fading of vitality, a gradual thickening of the waistline, a little less energy, a little more pressure. It's why so many people think they're fine, until their doctor tells them otherwise. But by then, the damage has been building silently for years. Late-night eating is one of the quietest, most underestimated drivers of metabolic decline in people over 50. It hides behind comfort, convenience, and habit, and yet it affects everything, from your heart to your hormones to your mind. But awareness is power, and once you understand what's happening, once you can visualize how your body struggles under the weight of late-night food, you can begin to reverse it. You can learn to support your body's rhythm rather than fight it. Because aging gracefully isn't about avoiding food altogether. It's about eating with intention, aligning with the natural rhythm that's always been trying to protect you. Now imagine the scene again. The lights are dim, your eyes are tired, and your body is craving peace. But inside you, something very different is happening. Your last meal, your last bite of something harmless, is beginning to unfold in ways you can't feel. but your organs can. This is the unseen battlefield of the body after 50, where every choice at night carries weight. It's not about restriction. It's about rhythm, balance, and understanding the quiet war that begins when certain foods enter your system after dark. Inside your chest, your heart, that tireless muscle, begins to respond the moment food hits your stomach. Blood flow redirects from your limbs and brain toward the digestive organs. Your heart rate rises slightly, not dramatically enough for you to notice, but enough to shift your physiology. If the meal is heavy, your heart works harder to maintain oxygen supply to the gut. The digestive tract, now busy breaking down food, demands energy, and that energy must come from somewhere. So your cardiovascular system stays in day mode, refusing to settle into the low restorative rhythm it needs. You may be lying down, but your body is not resting. Let's look closer. Inside your stomach, the process of digestion is underway. Hydrochloric acid floods in, breaking down proteins and fats. But after 50, acid production naturally declines, making digestion slower and less efficient. Food stays longer in the stomach, often up to 2 or 3 hours more than it did in your youth. The heavier the food, the more sluggish the process becomes. That's why older adults often wake up feeling bloated or with a bitter taste in their mouths. The food didn't finish moving through the system before sleep began. As digestion continues, your pancreas releases insulin to manage blood sugar, but at night, your body's sensitivity to insulin is lower, meaning you need more of it to handle the same amount of sugar. If your dinner or late snack included refined carbs, dessert, or alcohol, your blood sugar rises quickly, forcing an even higher insulin response. Now, your body's nighttime hormones, melatonin, growth hormone, leptin, are disrupted. These hormones are meant to guide you into rest and repair, but insulin competes with them. It says, stay awake, stay working. That tug of war inside you has a cost. Your sleep becomes lighter, your dreams less restorative, and your body misses out on deep, slow-wave sleep, the phase where tissue repair, memory consolidation, and immune strengthening happen. You might not remember waking up, but you'll feel it in the morning. The fog, the stiffness, the craving for caffeine. It all traces back to that silent chemical conflict that unfolded while you slept. And that's not all. The excess insulin tells your body to store energy, not burn it. So instead of tapping into fat reserves during sleep, which is what should happen naturally, your body locks them away and stores more. This is why many people who eat late struggle to lose weight even when they eat less overall. It's not just about calories, it's about timing. When you eat during your body's off hours, you reverse its metabolic flow. Instead of cleansing, you're clogging. Instead of burning, you're storing. In your liver, the same confusion takes hold. The liver operates like the night shift janitor of the body, sweeping up toxins, balancing cholesterol, converting fat into usable energy. But when you eat late, you call that janitor back into overtime cleaning duty, handling sugar, alcohol, and fat instead of regenerating. The enzymes responsible for detoxification slow down, and fat begins to accumulate inside the liver cells. At first, this fat is harmless, but over months and years it thickens. The liver becomes heavier, less flexible. Its ability to filter the blood diminishes. It's why some people wake up with headaches, brain fog, or a sour stomach. The liver is overloaded. Meanwhile, your blood sugar stays elevated longer than it should, and the excess glucose attaches to proteins in your bloodstream, forming something called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs are one of the most potent accelerators of aging inside the human body. They stiffen blood vessels, damage collagen in your skin, and make your joints ache in the morning. Every time you eat late and go to bed with elevated blood sugar, you're silently speeding up these microscopic processes. Not overnight, but little by little. Aging faster, not because of time, but because of timing. And let's talk about your heart again, that center of everything. When you eat high-sodium foods at night, your body retains water. Your blood volume increases, forcing the heart to pump harder. Instead of slowing down during the night as it should, it remains slightly elevated. That's why nighttime blood pressure, something many never measure, is one of the strongest predictors of heart attacks and strokes. The heart never gets its rest. It spends the entire night compensating for what seemed like a simple meal. Over time, this nightly strain can thicken the walls of the heart, reduce its flexibility, and increase the risk of arrhythmias, irregular beats that are far more common after 50. If you've ever noticed that your heart seems to race after a salty or heavy meal before bed, that's not imagination. It's your autonomic nervous system responding. Your parasympathetic system, the one that promotes rest and digestion, is supposed to dominate at night. But when the meal is too rich or too late, the sympathetic system, your fight-or-flight mechanism, reactivates. The heart pumps faster, blood pressure rises, and the night becomes one long low-grade stress test. And while you may not consciously feel anxious, your body does. The rhythm of your heart, the tension in your arteries, and the pace of your breathing all change. It's like your body is running while you sleep. Now let's turn to your brain, because what happens in your gut and blood doesn't stay there. The brain depends on the quiet of the night to repair itself. It uses the glymphatic system, a kind of fluid channel, to clear out waste that builds up during the day. But this system only activates during deep, stable sleep. If your body is busy digesting or battling insulin fluctuations, your sleep never becomes deep enough for this cleaning process to function fully. Imagine a city where garbage trucks only operate at night. If traffic jams block the streets, the trash piles up. The next morning, the city looks normal, but over time, the waste accumulates. That's what happens in the brain with late-night eating, especially in older adults. The result? Gradual cognitive decline, memory lapses, slower focus. And it's not just the brain's cleaning system that suffers. The gut-brain axis, the communication channel between your intestines and your mind, becomes disrupted. Late-night eating alters the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria that influence not only digestion, but also mood and immunity. Certain bacteria thrive on sugar, fat, and late meals. As they grow, they crowd out the beneficial ones that produce serotonin and short-chain fatty acids. Over time, this imbalance can lead to more inflammation, anxiety, and even depression. People often say they wake up in a bad mood for no reason, but there is a reason. Their gut is inflamed and exhausted. Meanwhile, the hormones that govern appetite and energy regulation, leptin and ghrelin, begin to lose their balance. Late-night eating raises ghrelin, the hunger hormone, while suppressing leptin, the fullness hormone. This is why you can go to bed full and still wake up hungry. Your body isn't confused, it's compensating. It's responding to a cycle it doesn't understand, one that started with a bite of food at the wrong time, and then comes the inflammation, silent, chronic, relentless. Every late-night meal creates a small inflammatory response in the digestive system. The gut lining becomes more permeable, allowing particles and toxins to pass into the bloodstream. This is what doctors call metabolic endotoxemia, a quiet state of low-level inflammation that increases with age. It doesn't cause sharp pain, but it accelerates everything from joint stiffness to arterial plaque buildup. You may not see it, but your blood vessels feel it every night, and each time they become just a little less elastic. Your kidneys, too, join this nocturnal struggle. They work all day filtering waste and balancing fluids, but they are meant to slow down at night. When you eat salty or protein-heavy foods before bed, you force them into overtime. They pull water to process sodium and nitrogen byproducts, leading to dehydration and frequent nighttime urination. It's one of the reasons so many older adults wake up multiple times to use the bathroom. It's not always age, it's chemistry. It's a body trying to offload what it shouldn't have been given at that hour. But perhaps the most underestimated impact of late-night eating is how it ages the face, not cosmetically but biologically. Poor sleep from digestion and blood sugar swings decreases collagen synthesis and increases cortisol, the stress hormone that breaks down connective tissue. That's why consistent late-night eaters often notice puffiness, dull skin, and more pronounced wrinkles. The face becomes a reflection of the body's internal struggle. Even the immune system pays the price. Your body uses the night to release cytokines, proteins that regulate immune responses. But high insulin and cortisol from nighttime eating suppress this process, leaving you more vulnerable to infections and slower to recover from illness. It's no coincidence that people who eat late and sleep poorly catch colds more easily and take longer to heal from injuries. The body is constantly playing catch-up, never ahead. You might wonder why this all feels so extreme. Why something as simple as a piece of toast or a small snack can trigger such a complex response. But the truth is, it's not the food alone. It's the timing. The same toast eaten at 8 a.m. might nourish you. Eaten at 11 p.m., it might strain you. The body is not static, it is rhythmic. Everything it does follows a clock, and after 50, that clock becomes even more sensitive. When you ignore its timing, it begins to rebel, not loudly but quietly, persistently, until one day it shows up as fatigue, hypertension, or weight gain that seems impossible to explain. This is the unseen cost of modern habits, of eating when our ancestors would have been asleep, of keeping lights on when nature intended darkness. The human body was designed for cycles, fasting and feeding, waking and resting. But today those cycles blur, and after 50, when repair mechanisms weaken, that blurring becomes damage. Yet within this truth lies something powerful. Everything that's gone wrong can be reversed. The damage is not permanent, the inflammation not irreversible. The same way you disrupted your rhythm, you can restore it. By changing what and when you eat at night, you can reclaim deep sleep, balanced hormones, clearer focus, and a calmer heart. But to do that, you must first see the full picture, the real impact of those nighttime habits, not as a lecture but as revelation, because understanding how your body responds at night isn't about guilt or fear. It's about awareness, the kind that brings control back into your hands. When you know what's happening inside, you can finally choose differently. And that choice, small, quiet, consistent, is where healing begins. Now that you understand the storm that happens inside the body at night, let's turn to the calm after it. Because once awareness settles in, something extraordinary begins. You realize that your body, no matter your age, still wants to heal. It's waiting for you to stop pushing against its rhythm so it can restore itself. This is the part most people underestimate, the body's ability to rebound when you give it the right conditions. You don't need perfection, you need cooperation. And the simplest way to start is by changing what and when you eat at night. The truth is, your metabolism isn't broken, it's simply misaligned. After 50, your digestive system slows down, but your cells still crave balance. By respecting that shift, you can feel changes within days. Deeper sleep, lighter mornings, steadier energy. Think of it as giving your body permission to do what it's been trying to do all along. Repair. So how do you allow that? The first step is rhythm. Not restriction, but rhythm. Start by creating a gentle cut-off point for your last meal, ideally 3 hours before bedtime. That single adjustment alone can dramatically lower nighttime blood pressure, stabilize blood sugar, and help your heart enter its resting rhythm. If you usually eat dinner at 8:00, move it to 7:00 for a week, then to 6:30. The change doesn't have to be abrupt. It just has to be consistent. Consistency is what your circadian system understands best. Over time, your body begins to anticipate rest again. Hunger hormones calm earlier, digestion winds down naturally, and melatonin, the hormone of sleep, rises without interference. But timing isn't the only key. The type of food you eat in the evening matters even more. You don't need to stop eating at night altogether. You need to stop choosing foods that fight your system. Foods rich in refined carbohydrates, added sugars, trans fats, or excess sodium are like static in your body's nighttime frequency. They send confusing signals that keep your metabolism awake. Instead, choose what I call silent foods. Foods that nourish quietly, without disturbing the body's peace. These include light proteins like fish or lentils, steamed or sautéed vegetables, soups made from whole ingredients with low sodium, and herbal teas that support digestion. The goal is to eat foods that your body can process without effort. The simpler the meal, the smoother the night. A piece of baked salmon with olive oil and greens, a small bowl of vegetable soup, or a handful of walnuts can satisfy hunger while keeping your metabolism calm. You might wonder about fruit. After all, it's natural and healthy. But at night, not all fruits are equal. The ones highest in fructose, like bananas, grapes, or mangoes, tend to burden the liver after hours. But low glycemic fruits like berries or kiwi, in moderation, can actually support sleep by increasing serotonin production without spiking blood sugar. It's not about removing sweetness from your life. It's about choosing the kind that harmonizes with your body's rhythm. And what about the craving for warmth, that feeling that something hot helps you wind down? That instinct is correct. Warmth signals the nervous system to relax, but the key is choosing the right kind of warmth. Replace that late-night milk or cocoa with herbal teas that truly help the body rest. Chamomile reduces cortisol. Rooibos supports liver detoxification. Ginger aids digestion without overactivating it. Even a simple infusion of warm water with lemon and a few drops of raw honey can soothe the stomach and gently support your liver's nighttime function. If you're used to drinking alcohol to unwind, this change might feel challenging. But here's something remarkable. Once you stop relying on alcohol for relaxation, your natural melatonin begins to return to normal levels. You'll fall asleep more easily, stay asleep longer, and wake up with clearer energy. The first few nights may feel restless, but by the end of a week or two, your body begins to remember what natural rest feels like. The clarity that follows is almost shocking, as if a fog you didn't even know existed begins to lift. The digestive system, too, begins to adapt quickly. When you stop eating late, stomach acid production becomes more efficient during the day. Reflux begins to fade. You stop waking up with that bitter taste in your mouth or that pressure in your chest. Your liver, no longer working double shifts, finally gets its night back. It begins to process fats more efficiently, regulate cholesterol, and clear toxins that once lingered. You'll notice subtle changes. Your skin brightens, your eyes look clearer, your energy becomes steady. These are not coincidences, they're signs of a body that's been waiting for relief. There's also the miracle of the morning after. When your blood sugar stabilizes through the night, you wake up lighter, not just physically, but mentally. You don't crave sugar immediately. You feel alert without coffee, your heartbeat feels slower, calmer. This is your metabolism remembering its natural tempo. Most people describe this as a strange kind of peace. A quiet energy that carries them through the day. That's not just perception, it's physiology. When you sleep without digestion interfering, your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and repair mode, dominates. That means lower inflammation, more efficient healing, and even improved mood regulation. And if you think it's too late to experience these changes after 50 or 60, science would say otherwise. Studies show that older adults who realign their eating patterns, finishing their last meal earlier or switching to lighter dinners, experience significant reductions in fasting glucose, LDL cholesterol, and nighttime blood pressure within weeks. Even their sleep architecture changes. More deep sleep, fewer awakenings, stronger REM cycles. In short, the body doesn't forget how to heal. It just needs space to do so. Of course, habits take time. The hardest part is not the food itself, but the comfort it brings. That ritual of snacking before bed, that quiet reward after a long day. Breaking that emotional pattern can feel like loss. But you don't have to remove the comfort, just redefine it. Replace the bowl of cereal with a cup of tea and a few almonds. Replace the glass of wine with a quiet ritual. Dimming the lights, reading a few pages of something peaceful, stretching gently. These actions trigger the same sense of reward, but they heal instead of harm. And here's something you might not expect. As your nights become cleaner, your days become easier. The energy you used to lose to digestion or poor sleep returns. Your body stops fighting itself. The morning fog lifts, your mood steadies, and your cravings shrink. Even your skin begins to reflect this change, because when your liver and gut aren't overworked at night, inflammation throughout your body drops. That glow that so many people chase with creams and supplements, it begins here, with what you choose not to eat after dark. The effects reach even deeper than appearance. When your circadian rhythm stabilizes, every organ falls back into sync. Your heart rate follows a healthier pattern, dipping at night and rising in the morning. Your cortisol peaks where it should, early in the day, giving you natural focus. Your insulin response improves, making weight management easier without drastic dieting. It's the closest thing to pressing a reset button on your entire metabolism. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require perfection or deprivation. It requires respect. Respect for the body's timing. Respect for the signals it's been sending you all along. Every time you feel bloated, restless, or heavy after a late meal, that's not failure. It's communication. The body never punishes. It teaches. And when you listen, it rewards you with balance. You may even notice emotional changes. People who align their eating rhythm with their body's clock report not only better sleep, but calmer moods, sharper focus, and greater patience. That's because your emotional state is tied to your blood sugar, your hormones, and your sleep quality. Late-night eating destabilizes all three, but as you rebuild structure, you rebuild peace. The anxiety that once crept in at night fades. You stop waking up at 3 a.m. with your mind racing. Your nights become truly restful again, the way they were meant to be. And for those who fear hunger before bed, here's the truth. That discomfort doesn't last. When you stop eating late, your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, recalibrate. Within 2 weeks, you'll stop feeling hungry at night altogether. Your body learns that nourishment comes earlier, and it stops asking for it after dark. That's the moment you realize something profound. You're not fighting your cravings anymore. They've simply disappeared. Your body is a system designed for harmony. Every cell, every organ, every heartbeat wants alignment. When you give it that, when you stop asking it to digest while it's trying to heal, everything begins to work better. The late-night fatigue fades. The swelling in your legs lessens, your mind clears, and your mornings begin with a calm, steady rhythm instead of chaos. That's not luck. That's biology returning to balance. So the next time you stand in front of the fridge at night, pause. Ask yourself, am I feeding hunger or habit? Am I soothing myself or sabotaging my rest? That moment of awareness, that breath before the choice, is where healing begins. And once you start feeling the relief of true rest, you'll never want to go back. Because the truth is, your body doesn't age in years, it ages in choices. And every night you choose to give it peace instead of food, you are choosing youth, clarity, and longevity. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being kind to yourself in the most practical way possible. You're not depriving yourself. You're allowing your body to do what it was always meant to do: repair, rejuvenate, and renew. And tomorrow morning, when you wake up with that lightness, that quiet energy, that calm heartbeat, you'll realize it was never about what you stopped eating. It was about what you finally started giving back to your body: rest, respect, and rhythm. Now imagine this. You wake before the alarm. There's no heaviness behind your eyes, no dryness in your mouth, no fog that takes half the morning to clear. Your body feels lighter, not just physically but internally, like something inside you finally exhaled after years of holding its breath. You stretch, and instead of stiffness, there's ease. You take your first sip of water, and your body receives it gratefully. This is what balance feels like, when the internal machinery finally works with you instead of against you. It's subtle at first, but it's the beginning of something far greater. Because when you decide to stop eating late, you're not just changing a habit. You're changing your relationship with time. You're respecting the rhythm your body was built on. You're saying, I trust nature's clock again. And your body responds with gratitude, not in words, but in calm. The kind of calm that radiates through every heartbeat, every breath, every thought. The kind of calm that becomes energy. This is not about perfection or restriction. It's about alignment. The quiet power of living in sync with the biology that's been whispering to you all along. The truth is, after 50, you're not meant to live slower. You're meant to live smarter. The decades have taught your body what it likes, what it needs, and what it can no longer tolerate. Ignoring those lessons only leads to fatigue. Listening to them brings renewal. The foods that once comforted you at night now cost too much energy to process. But that's not loss, it's wisdom. Your body is refining what truly serves you. It's asking you to trade comfort for clarity, impulse for awareness. And when you do, the rewards multiply in ways you didn't expect. You start sleeping deeply again, the kind of sleep that feels like falling through silence. You wake up without an alarm because your body's rhythm has found its own clock. The dark circles fade, the swelling eases, your mood evens out. You start walking differently, breathing differently. The small things that once irritated you, the late emails, the traffic, the noise, they no longer stir you. Why? Because your nervous system, which once lived in a constant state of nighttime tension, has finally found rest. Your body is no longer digesting when it should be dreaming. Your heart is no longer working overtime while you lie still. And it's here, in this balance, that something deeper awakens, a renewed trust in your body. For years, maybe decades, you've been told that aging means decline, that energy, sleep, and sharpness are things you must surrender to time. But what if that's not true? What if the real culprit has never been age itself, but imbalance, the quiet misalignment of habits that slowly erode vitality? When you realign your evenings, you begin to see what's been true all along. The body wants to heal. It's designed for resilience. And age doesn't erase that design. It amplifies it. Every night you give your body peace, you reverse a little of that wear. You lower the silent inflammation that tightens arteries and fogs the brain. You improve insulin sensitivity, strengthen your heart's nighttime rhythm, and deepen your brain's detox cycle. You're not just sleeping, you're regenerating. It's like polishing the engine of a car that's been running too long without maintenance. The moment you lift the strain, performance returns. And what follows is something no supplement, no diet, no trend can replicate: natural vitality. Think of what this means in practical terms. You wake up with real energy, not caffeine energy, but cellular energy, born from oxygen and balance. You move more easily, think more clearly, and feel more optimistic. You stop chasing motivation because it's already there, woven into how you feel. Food begins to taste better, not because it's different, but because you're no longer eating out of fatigue. You start craving what your body actually needs. The mind quiets, the cravings fade. And what remains is control, not the forced kind, but the kind that comes from harmony. And in that harmony, a sense of youth returns, not in appearance alone, but in spirit. You begin to feel like yourself again, only steadier, wiser, calmer. That's the paradox of midlife. The less you push, the more life pushes back with abundance. The less you feed restlessness, the more peace you gain. Aging is not the end of energy, it's the rediscovery of rhythm. And rhythm, once restored, touches everything: your health, your emotions, your purpose. But empowerment is more than just understanding, it's practice. It's the quiet, repeated decision to choose alignment over impulse. Some nights you'll be tempted. The mind will whisper, just one snack, just tonight. But that's the same voice that once convinced you fatigue was normal, that brain fog was inevitable, that waking up heavy was just part of getting older. You've already proven that voice wrong. You've seen what happens when you let your body rest. And once you've felt that clarity, it's hard to trade it away again. Because empowerment isn't about never slipping. It's about knowing how to return. If one night you eat late, don't feel guilt, feel awareness. Ask what drove the craving: boredom, stress, habit? Then the next day realign. Eat earlier, hydrate, walk after dinner, and let the body reset. That's the power of rhythm. It forgives easily when you honor it consistently. Healing doesn't demand perfection. It demands persistence. And here's something many don't realize. When you align your eating and sleeping patterns, you're not just protecting your heart and brain. You're protecting your future self, the version of you 10, 20 years from now. The version that still wants to travel, laugh, think sharply, move freely. Every time you skip that late meal, you're giving that future self a stronger foundation. You're building resilience in real time. Science confirms this truth in ways that feel almost poetic. Older adults who maintain early dinner habits and avoid late-night eating show longer lifespans, lower rates of metabolic disease, and significantly better cognitive health. Their cells age slower because their mitochondria, the energy factories inside every cell, work more efficiently when they're not overloaded with nighttime glucose. Even DNA repair improves because the enzymes responsible for protecting your genetic material activate more effectively in a fasting state. What sounds like a simple lifestyle choice, not eating late, actually affects your biology at the deepest level. But beyond science, there's something more spiritual about this shift. When you stop eating late, you begin to reconnect with something ancient, the rhythm of nature itself. You start to notice how the setting sun makes you calmer, how darkness invites stillness, how sleep feels sacred again. You're not fighting against the night anymore, you're flowing with it. That sense of peace, that quiet awareness that your body and nature are on the same team, that's the essence of health. It's not measured in calories or lab results, it's measured in presence. And once you live in that presence, everything else begins to change. Your mornings become rituals instead of rushes. You begin to savor meals instead of chasing them. You move slower, but with purpose. You start saying no to things that drain you and yes to things that align with your rhythm. You protect your peace with the same care you once gave to productivity, because now you understand. Peace is productivity. A well-rested body is a sharper mind, a stronger heart, a calmer spirit. Aging then becomes not something to fear, but something to master. It's not decline, it's refinement. You're not losing power. You're learning how to use it wisely. When you stop giving your body noise, you start hearing its wisdom. It tells you when to eat, when to rest, when to move. It rewards you with clear signals instead of mixed messages. Hunger becomes gentle. Sleep becomes deep. Energy becomes consistent. This is how you reclaim control without force, by listening. And maybe one evening soon, you'll find yourself in that familiar moment, standing in the kitchen, the clock glowing past 9. You'll remember how it used to be. The snacks, the drinks, the quiet sabotage disguised as comfort. And then you'll smile, because you'll feel the difference. You'll realize you don't need it anymore. You'll pour yourself a glass of water, turn off the lights, and walk away. Not from food, but toward rest. That's empowerment. Not denial, but awareness. Not sacrifice, but choice. And as you lie down, the silence will feel different, deeper, fuller. You'll feel your heartbeat slow, your breath deepen, your mind settle. You'll know your body is finally doing what it's meant to. Healing, rebuilding, renewing. That's not just sleep, that's restoration. And in that stillness, you'll realize something profound. Aging well isn't about holding on to youth. It's about mastering rest. It's about giving your body the one thing the modern world keeps stealing, the chance to reset. So tonight, when the world grows quiet and the temptations arise, remember this. Your body has done its work for the day. It has carried you, fed you, protected you. Now, it asks only for one thing, rest. And in giving it that rest, you're not losing anything. You're gaining everything. Clarity, strength, longevity, and peace. That's what it means to truly care for yourself after 50. Not to fight the body, but to listen to it. And when morning comes and your eyes open softly to a new day, you'll know that every choice from the night before was worth it. The calm you feel isn't coincidence. It's the reward of alignment. The rhythm has returned, the body remembers, and now, so do you.